Hi everybody, my name is Fatima Zahra. I'm a high school graduate from Morocco, and I'm a content creator for AMP Global Youth. So today we are going to discuss the impact of remote learning with psychologist Jihane Saadi. Jihan, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Jihane Saadi and I'm a psychologist based in Agadir.
Okay, the first question that I have is in what ways does remote learning affect students' mental health?
I've been thinking about that question. Um, there's positive and there's negative. You know that for the students, like the young people and the teenagers, they really thrive on social interactions. And when you have remote learning, they don't have the social component that they have in daily life. Like when you go to school, you just don't go to learn, you go to socialize, you go to see other kids, you go to interact with the teachers. And all of this is kind of like interrupted with with the remote learning. So I feel like it's the first effect on them is that they kind of feel isolated. And there's also the other impact is that there's the family pressure because they're in their home and the family is around them. It's especially for teenagers, like it's this moment where they need more their peers than their family, and it's the opposite, like they are with surrounded with the family and their friends aren't around. So I had a lot of patients, like teenagers, who told me that it was kind of difficult for them to be part of school but at the same time to not see their friends. The also there's another like factor I had in mind is the social anxiety that it could come from. I had a lot of students that were really happy to stay at home because they didn't have to interact with other kids, they were okay. But there was also the opposite. There was this girl that was 6 years old, she's a patient of mine, and she told me that she hated the fact that when she would log in, she would see all her classmates in one screen looking at her directly. And you can see from a perspective of a shy kid that it's huge. Like everyone is looking at you. And she told me, she was like, I would just take off my camera and I wouldn't even participate. And for the teachers, they wouldn't necessarily understand that. For them, it's more like the kid wouldn't participate. But I feel like the social dimension of remote learning is impacting them in a lot of ways.
Okay, let's move on to the next question is will it affect their learning journey in the future?
Again, I have those type of answer that is yes and no. Yes, because it impacts them in the right way, in the sense that it helps them to be more independent, autonomous. It's the moment where they can organize their day. Like they have tasks, but they can manage when they would do them, and they would manage their day because they're at home. They would know like when to schedule a meal, when to schedule like free play, when to do their homework. And for me, it's like being an adult, basically. Like that's how you learn to be a grown up. So in that sense, it's positive. It's also a good way for them to learn again in different ways, because we didn't have that. We didn't have the. I saw a lot of kids that would make videos, that would bake, that would make drawings for their classes. We didn't have that. For us, it's just pen and paper. So for me, it's really interesting to see that people are getting creative, and for the students, it's a chance for them to see their potential in another way. Like you could have a student that isn't good at writing, but now that he can make videos, he can express himself in another way. And for me, it's like the positive side of it. The negative side is that the student, if he has difficulties, the teacher isn't around. Like he cannot take care of all the students at once. So if he has like a lack or any difficulty, he's on his own, basically. I mean, the teacher can try to follow him, but from what I've learned, a lot of teachers told me that it's really difficult to keep up with everyone. Also, not everyone is at ease with social media, with using like internet, with typing, etc. So I feel like it's also the downside of remote learning. But I feel like whether it's good or bad, it's up to us, like the way we view it. If we view that this change is a good thing, then it's a good one. If we see that it's an obstacle, that is, I hear a lot of it, like people are like, oh my god, it's not getting anything for the kids, it's too painful, like it's too difficult. Yeah, but it's also a chance to review how we learn and how we interact with other people. So for me, it's a bit of both.
I agree. So, and for the last and most important question, in my opinion, do you think that traditional learning again will be a solution, or will it just create more problems?
It's the kind of moment when you people always say it was better before, it was better when we were younger, you know. We always view change as something that is bad. Once again, it's about change for me, but for me it's not a solution to go back to traditional learning. It's not for me. This time has been a good transition between, I would say, the traditional age to the digital age. Like you could mix both and be like, it's a digital age now. Like we do a bit of both. And I feel like it's cool. Like for the kids, they could have a day where they go to school, another day where they stay at home. And once again, it's up to us. If we see it as something we can learn from it and take all the benefits you can have from the digital age, it's a benefit. But if you see that it's too difficult and it creates too much change, it's going to be an obstacle in itself. But I'm sure that teachers are doing their best at the moment to provide for the kids and the parents as well. So we're all doing the best we can, but it's up to us to incorporate the change. For example, I heard from a teacher, it was really cool. Now that kids are back to school, she would still keep the like the conferences, in the sense that they can't have breaks, they can't like socialize, but they would have 15 minutes where every student would have one corner and do an activity. And for me, it's really good because they also learn to calm themselves. Like if it's too difficult or they're like too angry, they can just take some time apart, which is something you could do from home when we did remote learning. But now that they're back in school, they could still incorporate those things. So for me, it's just a question of being creative. And the same for the kids. It's maybe you have kids that until now, I say kids, but I mean kids and teenagers that until now hated school, hated learning, hated exams, hated the teachers. Now is their chance. Like they could show their skills in another way. They could learn to like school in another way. I know a lot of teenagers, they love to have the comfort of home and study at the same time because it followed their rhythm, you know? When you're at school, the teacher would do a lesson for like 4 hours. You had to catch the lesson in 4 hours. Whereas now they know, they just send you the lesson and then you take the time you need to take in the lesson. So for me, it's a chance to be creative, to change our view and our relationship with studying and learning in the whole, and to be open to change. Like, I mean, it's part of our daily life now. We cannot like behave like we're going back to a world that is like normal, not normal, but there's no normal. Like we're just creating a new era. So it's up to us to take the benefits from what we lived during the quarantine and make the best with it in the future, inshallah.
Okay, so that was the last question that I have, and yeah, that's it. If you want to add anything, you can now. Any advices or anything?
Sure. The whole like the whole thing I really want to people to take from it is that be open to change. There's something I love in psychology. We say we have two problems in life. We have the problems in itself, and we have the problems we create by focusing on it. So if we keep saying, oh my god, remote learning doesn't serve anything, it's too difficult, and the COVID situation in itself is too stressful, we keep creating our own stress. But if you're like, it's a chance to restart, to be fresh, to be creative, to discover what we like about learning, like maybe students discovered other subjects, other way of expressing themselves that was positive. So for me, it's just a question about perspective in a whole.
Okay, thank you so much. This was fun. It was really interesting to know your thoughts about the subject.